Okay, we are ready to go, finally. Welcome to this first live check in our program on creativity and innovation management, part of a series of program by RWTH on edX. My name is Frank Piller, Professor for Technology and Innovation Management. Sitting here in my university office, you see the dominant design of a professor, a bookshelf with lots of things. You see myself, they are 3D printed, my own computer, so around things that interest me. What we want to do in this program, I want to introduce you a little bit more about the background, introduce you also to some of the people around this, and they go just into two themes, and obviously also have time to answer your questions, get already your feedback in that format. But of course, my great team is always there to answer your feedback also in the forum. Okay, so we'll now start. As I said already, it's not just me here. With me here in Aachen is Anja and Lydia in the moment, two of my colleagues at the department who are really instrumental in creating and running this, and Patrick from Polarstern, a great startup that is helping us in providing these online classes internationally. As I said, I'm Professor for Technology and Innovation Management here in Aachen. Say a little bit more about Aachen in a second. I'm also the founding dean of our business school with regard to professional education. And my research and interests at the same time is really about some of the things you learn in that class. Of course, in research, you focus a little bit more on specific issues. In our case, is customer-centric innovation, open innovation, business model innovation. And next to this, I always were interested in really starting some companies, working with companies to also really have some practical insights. Yeah. We are here at Aachen. It's a smaller city in Germany, in the west of Germany, just where the Netherlands and Belgium meet. And Aachen is, well, however you look in the ranking, but we consider ourselves as the best university of technology in Germany. And it's definitely the heart of German engineering, especially in production and machinery engineering. And 1 out of 5 board members of a German company has graduated from Aachen, typical for a country like Germany, as really a tech company. And every second engineer working in the German automotive engineer with a university degree still comes from Aachen. Large university, 43,000 students. And now we are happy that we even get larger by this outreach program on edX. We have a large campus here, invest a lot, in the moment 2 billion in a new campus that really brings industry on campus. We have already 250 companies that have full-time offices and staff here allocated in the area around actually where my office is. And that's actually our idea also for me and from the business school. We not just teach business as normal, but very much into the intersection between technology, management, but also people. As I said, this is where we educate future leaders, and just 10 seconds more for the marketing, then we'll come to the content. And so as the idea is here what we do, and perhaps you've seen it already if you followed other programs of these MicroMaster, that we try to combine a strong technological background, some our outreach to industry with an established profile in business and economics and management research. Yeah, and if you would be in Aachen, you would see this building. This is actually where the business school is hosted. Okay, different programs. Normally people come to us to study for an entire master program, for an executive MBA, perhaps actually for a DBA. But I think the beauty of these MOOCs is that we can do this also on a shorter, that we can do this also in a shorter interaction and bridge to people that are not always here with us. Okay, so what I want to do is go now a little bit more into detail and put this program, what you are already started to see, in the context of innovation and perhaps also of the other MOOCs. So our class is part of this MicroMaster, and perhaps some of you started earlier with disruptive change, with the customer-centric innovation. But if you just joined, it's totally fine. What I do in this innovation and creativity management class here, is builds a little bit on the customer-centric innovation class, but Anja Leckel actually took great care to give you all the information in the module 0 you need to really, if this is your first program, just start with enough and sufficient background knowledge. So we structure these both classes that I direct in this program around what you see here in colorful, a typical picture of the innovation process. And it's actually nothing too special. And in the literature, there are hundreds of structures of innovation, but in the end, they all say the same. We have some front-end activities to identify opportunities. You turn these opportunities into ideas and concepts. You select a concept, which you then bring into design development and launch. And especially what's outlined here in blue and green is what we want to cover in this class. And as side activities, on the one hand side, you always have to screen, test, and select. But you also need creativity to come up with ideas, to come up with an innovative trial and error process for technical development. And again, this is what's topic of this class. So, if you were already part of the earlier program on customer-centric innovation, you got an in-depth introduction into the big picture, but I hope also for the others that just joined this class also looked some of the videos to explain this framework. So we are really now in this class more on the right-hand side when we really realize our concepts and turn them to market, launch the product there. I just want to remind you, you got it in the forum, but this wonderful picture was created as part of a book by a colleague from Austria, Hans Lercher, and he shared this book totally for free with this link. It's available in English, also in German, but I would say for most of you, the English version is more relevant. Okay, what is creativity? So if you really think about what is creativity, what is really the most creative person you know? Would you consider yourself as creative? Well, a lot of people actually would do. And some people would say, well, I can really study it. Others would say, no, it was inherited into me. And it's one of the big concepts. And nowadays, as I explained already in the module, which already is available for this recent class, is that the modern understanding of creativity, or let's say there are many modern understandings, but in general comes out of these ideas that creativity can be taught, that it's nothing what is in your genes, but of course we also can create an environment that is fostering creativity. And we also, both in a micro level in the organization, perhaps even in your work group, but also in a society on a city level, or perhaps on a national level. And this is actually what we try to achieve here at the university by building a new campus, by putting companies next to university researchers in a dense environment. That is also in the environment with a different kind of creativity, as if the same people just would be distributed across different work groups. So when we go back to my slides, what creativity is and why we really need it, perhaps it's important to remember one distinction that was in this introductory boot camp, what I also ask you to see if you were exposed to innovation. So in general, managing innovation is very much a process of managing information and knowledge. And there are these two big pieces of information, kinds of information you need to knowledge. So one is need information, really about what is it what customers and users want. And this is actually what we cover in this other class on customer-centric product development. And then there is solution information, technical knowledge, how the need now can be transferred into an offering. And the first one, the need information, is very much with regard to the fit to market, the effectiveness of the innovation process, doing the right things. while solution information is very much about the efficiency, so time to market, cost to market, as now we know what we want, but we have to see how we can really realize it. And the later is where we may place creativity. And let's connect it to really thinking about what is innovation. And also here, we really have a lot of understandings, and we could come up with a lot of different definitions of what is innovation, and many, many different. But one definition is really about a process perspective of innovation. So we could have an outcome, and it's very much what you often connect intuitively with innovation. And innovation is an innovative outcome, a product, a service, and so on. But of course, innovation is also a process. And what you do if you innovate, well, in the end, you solve problems, often really tough problems. And those can be technical problems, but it can be also problems of society, of a customer service problem, and so on. Okay, so if innovation as a process in the end is problem solving, what does it mean to solve a problem? Think about what are the ingredients you need to solve a problem? And solving a problem can be a lot, and now let's really say solving especially an innovative problem. So a problem you have not solved before. As of course we can say our daily life is an entire string of activities and problem solving, have to solve the problem to come from here to the bus and with the bus to my home. Well, but we wouldn't consider this as an innovative knowledge, and we actually can use a lot of experience and knowledge how to do it. But if it's a problem that's related to something what we never solved, exactly in innovation, well, then there are two ingredients you need to solve a problem. And these are connected to the activities you do. So you have these two ingredients. The one is you should always search first, as perhaps your problem already is solved. Perhaps it's not actually such an innovative problem. And even if not, you really want to know the state of the art, the prior art. And the activity, how you search, of course, is also based on your experience. You can only search for the terms according to the search terms that come into your mind. Well, then let's say it's a novel problem, you search. And then probably or hopefully there are some things you can't find. So really your intuition is somehow confirmed that you have to create something new. So you start to experiment. This is the basic process of problem solving, and very often it's trial and error learning. We have an idea, you test it, you fail, but you got feedback, you start again, and so on. Activities, two ingredients, knowledge, and there we are, creativity. The knowledge part is connected both to the search, as this is what you want to achieve and know, but also, of course, the outcome of the experimentation process is the creation of new knowledge. And creativity, well, obviously you need it to set up a clever experiment, but also to do a clever search process. So you see, creativity and knowledge are somehow very closely interwoven with a very basic act how innovation works. And so now to the problem here. And we call it here as economists the local search bias, but actually perhaps you know it better under the term of a tunnel perspective. You're stuck in a paradigm. What do I mean with it? When we solve a problem, it's an innovative problem, very often our experience actually is a hurdle. Sounds strange, as normally we promote people because of the great experience. But again, if we always did something and think about this is how it should work, but we want to achieve something new, well, perhaps we are stuck in a paradigm. It's really research in the wrong direction. So, and this perhaps can be seen as the really basic foundations of my discipline, innovation management. And a lot with the basic research on innovation management started really how we can help managers or researchers, who are actually everybody, to overcome this bias to just look for the knowledge and the solutions by our experimentations locally in our comfort zone, in our domain, but to reach out to other domains. As you may know, actually, the European Patent Office is defining an innovation, not just that this is knowledge new to the world, but that existing knowledge stocks are being combined in a way that's not obvious to an expert. So in this definition, they acknowledge that actually radical innovation per se is a recombination of existing knowledge stocks. But if we want more innovative outcomes, more radical innovation, we really want to combine knowledge stocks that are far away, that not have been combined before, and therefore we have to find them. So, and this is exactly where a lot of creativity techniques and other practices to foster creativity start. So that's a problem, local search bias, we want to overcome. And as I already said, here again, more formally on a slide, they think we have the tend to only look in the known and really look for solution information in our own technical domain. And while this is good for continuous improvement, it really is a bias for more radical innovation. So quickly, what comes into your mind to reduce the local search bias? And there are probably a lot of activities you do intuitively, or some perhaps more in a very systematic way in your company. Well, you can first and all change your search and problem solving style. And this is where these creativity techniques are placed. It is really a pity, as in these kind of online programs, we don't have the opportunity to test it, but there are great books how you can do it alone. Probably you need some friends, and a lot of these creativity activities are group activities. And so the first thing is really we change our way how we search. Saying already that a lot of these activities are group activities relates to the next facet, that we can somehow try to connect better to other knowledge stocks from the outside. And in innovation management, there was a strong emphasis on open innovation in the last decade, exactly acknowledging that we have to be better in searching broadly and widely. In companies, we have gatekeeper roles, special positions, and their job is it to go out and connect with others. They have to build, this is a very fancy management term, we talk about building absorptive capacity. So establishing strategies in companies to connect to the outside here. But of course, we also can partner with organizations, all the focus on alliances, networks, on mergers and acquisitions, or more informal arrangements help us to overcome our local search by really connecting with others. And finally, perhaps if you'll work in a large organization, you for sure have a diversity initiative. We have a big one here in the university, for good sake. As if we only have white middle-aged professors like me, well, we would just go into probably more or less all the same direction. But if we really want to be an innovative university, we need to be more diverse, starting with the student body up to the rectorate and the presidents, probably. So therefore, to have diversity, well, you need to start with diverse people. You can have the interdisciplinary teams. So you see already there's a big stream of activities, what organizations, for-profit, non-profit, perhaps also your household, can do to become more creative in what you do. And I don't repeat this slide yet, it's in the videos, but the idea is really that it's not just the way how we search and with whom we connect on the task level, but it's the entire environment of organization and the practices, the organizational motivations, the resources, that exactly these kind of activities also very much influence the, let's say, environment in which creativity takes place, as we learn from a lot of research that it's not just really the actual task we want to solve creatively, but the environment in which this task takes place is highly important for a creative outcome. So now a little bit you have perhaps a little bit better understanding in the big picture why creative matters, and that it's really in the heart of our core, or in the core of the understanding what really innovation is. Let me at this time perhaps break quickly and check if we have any urgent questions in the chat. So anything there that is, at this, just comments and so on. And yeah, so all what I had were practical questions, but I will go into those at the end. Okay, so then let's close my very small lecture here with one further and perhaps a last thought on that. And this now has nothing to do with creativity. This has nothing to do with really the core content of this specific thing, but it's a simple framework I stole from somewhere else, but from that may help you to put what you learn in the class together. This is by Andrew and Sirkin, two consultants that wrote a book called The Innovation Cash Curve. And what we have here is something on the first view, finance view on the entire innovation process. So starting from idea generation, realization, nurture, commercialization, exactly the steps you already learned in our program. And on the y-axis, we have cumulative cash, meaning if we are below this zero line, here also with time, then we invest. And if we are above it, we somehow start to profit from it. And if you would be now my student here in Aachen in a class, I would ask you to really explain the curve and why does it has this particular form? Well, idea generation at the beginning is very cheap. It takes a while, but actually we don't need big investments. Then where we really enter into it, realization, where we are now in this class, this is where it really gets expensive, where it really, where investments are taking for technical problem solving. Then we launch, we still go down a little bit with the slope of the curve, meaning we still have to invest in marketing and so on. And then finally we gain, when we go over the timeline here, we break even, we go up, we hopefully have a lot of revenues, and well, and then at the end of the life cycle, we don't sell too much of that particular product any longer and have to invest in a new one. So I think the basic gestalt of this curve is clear, hopefully. So now just what we have here, startup cost, support cost, and this is normally what we call time to market. In many companies, really the time to market is not really measured from the very first day when you started to think about it, but really after you agreed on a concept for realization, and exactly again the part of the process covered in this our current class. And then we have also something like ramp up time to volume until we come to a space. Okay, so the picture hopefully is clear. Over watching the class, we will cover quite some methods, some practices. And perhaps this is a framework to really put this all in a context. So if there is this particular creativity technique, the Walt Disney method, for example, so how is your knowledge of this method, your ability to apply it in your work content, how does it really shift or shape this curve differently? First, think about, in the optimal world, how would this curve look like? Well, probably it would be very condensed at the beginning, a lot stressed after the launch, and would go into the sky, just would be the limit. And so this is perhaps something that can be achieved by creativity technique. Well, probably not all, but probably the way how far we can go depends on the novelty of our innovation, on the way how we can differentiate it from the existing market. And this is probably something what we can influence with creativity. Okay, So much fun and new insights with this class. Turn back to this curve somehow whenever you learn something and think, well, how and where, especially in this curve, would it influence that one? Okay. Finally, some questions. So I have a second screen here. Question was, it's great to identify the need and importance of having a diverse group. Cultures to more open, will we touch? So yeah, we don't do this too much. It's probably would be a topic of an own MOOC. So how can we really influence the diversity and create an open culture? And actually in your comment, you mentioned one of the biggest animals, I would say, in managing innovation: culture. And I always joke with my students here in Aachen, if you don't know an answer to an exam question, either put in interdisciplinary team or innovation culture. And this is always the right answer. And now I make it a little bit easy to me, but what this particular class is about, it's really about the basics. It's about the process, the methods, and so on. Actually, my colleague Malte Brettel, in his two programs in this MicroMaster, he touches these aspects a little bit more. Also, for example, teaching a specific kind of decision style called effectuation, copied from successful serial entrepreneurs, which is creating a specific culture for decisions in an organization, which also really incorporates group thinking in a positive way and really working in networks closely. So it's one of the important topics, but I'm very sorry we can't go too much into this in this class. When it comes, we touched on how distinguish is coming up with idea and marking driven. So there's a question by Shadow Trillium. Will we have how to come up with ideas? Well, actually, this was exactly the content of the previous class, the customer-centric innovation, where we exactly distinguish between market-driven innovation and tech push. From my personal experience, let's say, 80 to 90%, even in a tech company like Germany, 80 to 90% of successful innovations start with an open need of a customer or a user. There are very few successful innovations that really start tech push. However, often in companies, it's a hybrid process. So what should be in your systematic process should be really a screening of market needs, and actually without knowing any solution in mind. Meaning you should really try to understand market needs without having already a technical solution in mind. But then, secondly, you may have a second stream that goes in parallel, where you really develop new technologies, where you try to really build a technological base which is somehow leading edge. And in a smaller company, well, it's difficult perhaps to finance it, but larger companies do it. And then hopefully you have some matches. But of course, also your tech push stream, the way where you really work tech driven, it's much easier to be executed if it's not somewhere in the blue, but also connected to insights you get from the market. So in my personal opinion, it should be a market-driven approach. And again, just self-advertisement. This is exactly what we cover in the other MOOC, the customer-centric enterprise. Okay, I have a couple of other questions and announcements on really how to participate in this class successfully. First, we have this buddy program that Polar Stern is organizing for us. And I guess tomorrow is that last day to register to it. Really do it. Or next week? Next week. So next week is a deadline. So as much as innovation is a team sport, participating in a MOOC should become a team sport. You should not do it lonely at home. But our team is very happy to match you with a buddy somewhere in the world. We'll know a little bit about you with your same background, perhaps also in the same time zone, and that you have someone to really discuss what you see, to ask questions one-to-one. As actually you learn most by telling about it. That's great for me as a professor. If I want to new stuff, I just make a lecture about it, and then I learn probably most. And the same can work. So if you want to take this class seriously, this buddy program really is good for you. Then you get the online assignments where you can really reflect on your knowledge, go further. And we have this peer review process where, again, you get not just the assignment to write a small essay, reflect on a content, share an experience from your work context, but also give feedback on the assignments of others. And people really spend time and take this responsible, please, and really give people great feedback, not just say 0 points or something. If you give 0 points, well, probably there should be a reason why you think it's totally crap what the other person wrote. But perhaps be a little bit more elaborate than in your critique and use a full scale of 0 to 4 points to really evaluate it, but give just qualitative feedback. Don't write much, but just a few bullet points already really make people happy. And just think about the kind of feedback you would like to get on your assignment. Finally, also discuss really your projects as a group activity. You get assigned also kind of thinking on the project, and there actually this innovation cash curve may be a way how to structure these discussions. So also as a group activity, and again, our team will group you, use this to work on that. So these were the 3 important remarks. Okay, so now that is the main part, I would say, of it. But I have another of content questions I'm happy to answer on it. And if you now have to go, as we said, somehow half an hour, now we're already 45 minutes in it. It's good, but we'll record it and provide it to you. Okay, I got some question about, where is it? Sometimes creative person creates a market, cheats the market. Okay. Really that companies buy creativity shaping the market needs. Was it Steve Jobs as probably a creative but also disciplined person? Was he the one that by his creative genius creating the market needs for smartphones? Well, we could argue so. It was definitely a creative act of not just Steve Jobs, but his group of engineers and designers at Apple at this time to come up with the first iPhone. But why was the iPhone such a success? Not as it fulfilled, again, in my opinion, entirely new market needs. No, it was addressing existing market needs in a much, much better way. Well, yeah, and let's think about it. Most of why we love smartphones and can't live without it, even if we use totally novel technical solutions in form of apps that existed not before the age of the smartphones, the basic problems of a consumer or of a business person always existed. So I would say it's very difficult by creativity to create a market need. Almost impossible, as in the end, market needs come out of latent needs that are somewhere existing. But with creativity, we perhaps either create more creative solutions to it. This is obvious, but perhaps creativity help us to change our perspective, our search, somehow our search principle, how we screen the market, how we evaluate consumer comments. And this is where definitely a lot of companies are entirely stuck in the paradigm of local search. So here, actually, creativity is very important also for these market-facing activities in regard to recognizing what is out there. But in my personal opinion, we don't create a new need. We just exist in a basic need in a different, better way. Good. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Again, sorry for some of the technical hiccups at the beginning that you had to wait much longer than anticipated for the link to join it. And I'm looking forward to see some of you back, perhaps in another live session, and wish you much fun with the program and, of course, great learnings. Thank you very much.